Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Brett McCollum, and I'm here today with Paul H. Graham. And today we're going to talk about the Investor's Guide to Joy. Super interesting. Before we do, guys, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs to 2 to 5x their businesses to allow them to build the businesses they've always wanted and allow them to live the lives they've always dreamed of. Without further ado, Paul, how are you, man?
Doing fabulous. It's a Friday. The sun's out. It's a great day for a great day.
That's it, man. I love it. Great day for a great day. Why not, right? Yeah. Well, man, it was good catching up with you before we kind of, getting to know each other a little bit, that sort of thing. Got a lot that we're going to probably try to unpack here, right, in a short amount of time. But before we get into everything and kind of go higher level, give some history, some background, catch us up to speed. Who's Paul?
Yeah. So I'm just an entrepreneur who loves learning and doing things. What I mean by that is I tried to apply for a patent when I was 8. My mom was very supportive on, just or entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
I asked, what needed to be done for a patent, and they said 40 grand. And so I turned to my mom and said, hey, I need 40 grand for this patent, right?
Why not?
So I've recently released a book with Kevin Harrington, the original Shark, just on my business experience, right? In the service-based industry, I had a residential painting business. I've also been in software, either as like a co-founder or working in fintech type thing. And then most recently it's been, capital raising, oil and gas, short-term rentals, hotel kind of conversions essentially. But really building marketing engines to, fundraise or really just connect people. And we'll go through this of like Investors Guide to Joy of kind of how that came to be and my personal investments. But that's just what I've done professionally. And then I grew up in Denver, lived in Austin. I now live in Nashville. I almost have like the 5 stones. If you've seen, some of those Marvel movies, I don't really need to move to Seattle, but if I did, I'd have all the millennial cities. So that's kind of, me in some ways. So
yeah, you're not rocking the beanie, man. Like, I don't know if I believe you.
I have a golden tree behind me. So, to each their own.
Yeah, that's funny. No, super cool. Yeah, we were talking about some of that stuff before. Like, you've done a lot of stuff even at a young age where you've had so much experience into different things. That's kind of why I wanted to kind of rewind back a little bit. You mentioned 8 years old. It's there's some people are just wired a little different. You know what I mean? Like, and I imagine when you said, Mom, 40 grand, you're probably like, of course, it's just 40 grand. Let's just do it. You didn't think anything of it probably. Is that been like at 8, that's the beginning of like, but has that kind of been true to who you've been, like, as you've been growing up? Has this always been that way, or was that kind of a moment in time and then it became again later? Or
so I'll share a story with also like an actionable takeaway that people can do. What I've found is that by taking StrengthsFinder 2.0, I learned that I'm incredibly analytical. I love education. I love connecting people. I love seeing like the possibilities and opportunities with things. If you look at traction, right, I'm mainly a visionary, but I also have a very high integrator score. I'm actually more of an integrator than a visionary, which basically means I sometimes spin my wheels.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah.
Because I know myself with those things, I've also taken DISC and a number of other things. But just point is, because I know those things, I've realized where my strengths are, and sometimes those things can trip me up. So I had a friend, fun story. I had a friend who recently visited me in Nashville. I've been here about 6 months. And he's like, oh, hey, there's Riley Green. I'm going to go see if he can like sign my hat. Like, no, Eric, do not go do that. Like, do it the appropriate way. Like just all this stuff, right? It's to say like between 8 and, now, so right now I'm 31. It's the aspect of like, I've had more data. And so I've seen how things have like worked or maybe not worked. And so sometimes there's that hesitancy or resistance, right? By the time of my age or your age or really anyone's, we've just heard no so much that sometimes we have a precursor of what the expectation is going to be. Hey, I'm trying to do a sub 2 deal on this house. They're probably going to say no because of this reason. Have you called them? What did they say? Oh, no, I haven't yet called them. I'm actually going to eat lunch and then I'm going to do it. Well, it sounds like you just made an excuse for both yourself and for an opportunity to help someone.
That's
So
right.
it's those sort of things where it's a difference of being more like childlike thing and kind of like the underlying thing of joy. Like when you were a kid, you didn't really care about anything of sorts, right? You just sort of did it like, oh no, excuse me, like, can I have an ice cream? And it's like, dude, there's like 30 kids, there are 30 people behind you, right? So it's kind of that like blind optimism, just like kid childlike wonder, if you will, which is a piece of kind of the brand. But my point is to answer your question that like, yeah, I've definitely tried to like get back into it in a lot of ways, because then it's like, well, no, the mortgage or then this or like, but what about that? Like there's the financial things, and it's just like in 10 years, what will you think about and process with it? It's on the top of my mind, so I'll just share it. Like I have the opportunity to go to a billionaire's island right now. Just random things just happen, and it's like floating that on credit cards like is not a good idea to anyone's thing. And also, like, is this something that I would like radically be disappointed about and like wish I could do? And there's potential to do it in future years, so it's not like a one-time thing, right? So it's those sort of things where it's like, how do we balance our current finances as well as our future sort of state, right? Especially when we look at real estate, because we could have a bunch of property, but then our equity's tied up and then we can't do anything with it, right? So understanding not just where you're growing and going, but also like how you're doing that along the way has just been a big thing. Because, even just in your mastermind, right? Like having people grow and scale, like if you do a bunch of things on your personal name, you're going to get tripped up, right? So then you're going to need to do this and that. So like knowing how people get maybe the 50 or 100 houses or just, whatever that might be of, commercial, or maybe it's oil and gas or venture or debt or investments, right? Alternative investments, not just like stocks and stuff. It's not my thing. It's having, again, that wonder, that curiosity, and then seeing how to make something happen. As well as sometimes just doing it, right? Like we talked a little bit beforehand, right? Of who, not how, and the idea of who is it? Have they done it before? Can they help me?
Yeah.
Is it also that they could, guide me, or is it more that they could like implement it for me type of thing?
Right.
So those things have kind of come to be where it's, I sometimes forget about that, little 8-year-old boy that's like, what do you mean? Like, do it. It's not, money's not a thing, right? From a sense of abundance, as well as at least from like man of faith sort of perspective, money's also not ours and is just created. And so if we can't take it with us as well as it should be, stewarded to, good, positive things for ourselves and others, how are we then making decisions? That's also helped my, kind of childlike wonder, if you will, also be more disciplined and intentional, and not just, oh my gosh, there's a candy bar. Let's buy 50 of them, right? Like that's the different kind of decision of sorts, right? So guided, you know.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Decisions, if you will, has kind of been the thing, but really being curious to anything. Last thing comes to mind on your question is this idea of the most magical, wonderful, incredible experiences of my life have been unexpected. So my analytical brain that's like, oh, it's got to like this property, this and this and this and this, right?
Yeah.
It might turn better in the pro forma, right? As well as if I'm just trying to validate my analytical brain, I actually might not be in the best like headspace of sorts to actually purchase something, because if it doesn't work with the pro forma, I'm going to be super disappointed and it's going to cause all these issues financially, all this sort of stuff, right? So it's the idea of like investing with with the idea of joy and like your financial heart, as opposed to your logical mind or your egotistical emotions. Oh yeah, no, I wrote the most amazing underwriting deal. This is going to be like a 30 cap, like kind of stuff. Sure, that could be a deal, right? That could be. But also recognizing like, why are you doing some of the things, and why and how are you sharing some of the things? Because you might just be, validating yourself to candidly make yourself feel better, and the deal actually may not be good, right? Which, especially when you own property, that's a challenge when you buy and then you have to sell it at a loss, or you cause all these issues or things like that. So again, things that come to mind, and then some things to share and also take action on.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, man, that's like a whole seminar right there. But look, it's not wrong. So like, I want to kind of still, and we'll move on in a moment, but like something, what was reminded for me when you were talking about that, and that childlike wonder and the thing, like, and my foundation, like how I try to operate is from I try my best from a biblical faith perspective as well, on how I operate daily life and in business and everything. It's interesting. When you're 8, you didn't believe, there was nothing to tell you. Like you said, that nobody's told you that you shouldn't think that, right? And you said that, right? And there's a reason biblically that if you read, not trying to make it all like, super biblical or anything for you guys in the audience, but Jesus says to come with childlike faith. And the reason for that is because as a kid, everything's possible.
Yeah.
Everything is possible. There's nothing that you believe it. Like that true belief. Like, yeah, I just need 40 grand. Of course I'm going to do that. That's not, like, and I think that's just refreshing to hear. He's like that wonder, this like, and I think it's just so difficult for us as, we've grown up and we've heard no so many times, like you said, and we've done this, and it's so difficult to have that faith like that at some, but the fact of the matter is, like, that's how things happen.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to believe. You have to. Otherwise, like, it doesn't happen.
There's a bunch of like Christmas movies on this, right? But it's the same thing of like, you have to believe like with your whole heart, right? And then the reindeer start, flying. Yeah. There's I believe it's twofold. So I'll give a quick, parable about this. If you want to watch the full thing, it's on my YouTube. It's a fish climbs a tree. It's the idea that if a fish climbs a tree, it's a sight that you can't unsee, and it has the belief that it should, right? In terms of like kind of a higher power sort of directing it, faith, if you will, and the belief that it can, right? So our own internal, like, oh, I can, do this, as well as it has the skills, knowledge, and resources to climb that tree. So if at any point, I use this as a heuristic where it's like, okay, with what I'm experiencing right now, personal, business, financial, whatever, what is it belief? Is it belief in like a purpose? Is it belief in myself? Is it a skill? I may not have the skills. I may not have the knowledge, right? And so then it's like, okay, well, I don't have the knowledge. I need to know more knowledge. Great. So then I'll do that. And then maybe something else would come up. And it's this idea of just like kind of taking that clay and molding it, instead of using things as like a, 0 and 1 of like, oh, should I buy this property or not? It's like, well, this is in a
Right.
new area that I haven't yet done it. Let me go talk to the top real estate agents.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Always talk to 2 to 3 people in anything, right? Even if it's service contractors, huge belief. Then you'll have more of that knowledge and information and, go from there. I did this the other day. I called a couple wealth managers in Nashville, and I have, I think, a new best friend. And then I learned, met some other people too. But like, again, unknown things come. And to your point, yeah, curiosity is radically just going to transform what's possible, simply because it's just that childlike wonder. And everyone wants to be that kid. That's why I also put a hot tub. Well, granted, hot tubs are just good for short-term rentals, but I also put a outdoor miniature golf course at one of my short-term rentals. Again, also beneficial, but it's also just fun, right?
It's just fun.
It's just fun. So granted, the bowling alley hasn't come yet, and a little more cost intensive and what have you, but just sometimes it really is those things of like, how can I become more of myself? And oftentimes that could just be what's more of your inner child. Like, you may not want to have 50 homes, right? You may just really want to be more intimate with the types of people that you're connecting with. So maybe that's more multifamily, right? Because you're able to build relationships, longer term and see people grow, or, I don't, whatever the kind of analogy your thing is. But just how some of the investments that you can do can make an impact on other people's lives as well as your own. Again, on the dollars and cents, which are important. Let's be very clear about that, because you gotta float it.
Absolutely, yeah. And so we were talking before the show, and we kind of hit on this idea of like, sometimes lately, anyway, let me say it like that. Lately, all the gurus who are all the talking heads, are out there saying like, your mindset, and it often gets so oversimplified, and it's just kind of it's cheesy, and it's like your mindset, and it just it doesn't mean. But this, I kind of had a feeling this is how the episode direction was going to go based on how our interaction was before we recorded. But I mean, man, all the things that you've, with funding in oil and gas and short-term rentals and hotels and wealth management, and like the list of, it's like, bro, like, and I'm not saying this to like blow smoke up your skirt, Paul, but it's like, how the heck do you at 31 have, and it comes back to what we were just, everything we've just been saying.
Sure.
It's mindset. It's the childlike belief that I can. And then you did and are doing, so I just want to make sure I'm highlighting that for you, man. Like, that if anybody's listening, just, you guys, we're all in the real estate space. If you're listening to the show, you're probably in the real estate space, right? And I don't want to let it slip and gloss over super fast to be a superficial response of, oh, mindset, but we really need to dig into the fact that, like, man, like, and I'm not trying to, like, you've probably heard this your whole professional career. Paul, you're too young. Like, some people do that.
I know it's been a big frustration of mine, candidly, because even when I was like 10 or 12, or again, just all these things, it was like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you have to wait, or things like that. And I asked my mom one time, it was just like, what makes a 16-year-old capable of driving a vehicle than me at 14, right? Or said another way, right? What makes someone who, has 20 years experience in, real estate as an agent qualified enough to buy an investment property? I mean, yes, there's certainly some nuances, but the difference between like a real estate agent and investor is just my definition, is how I'm going about in terms of evaluating that. Like, taking a real estate test, all these things, and I say this as a former commercial real estate broker, like, it just that didn't help me understand, investing in real estate, right? But getting
Yeah.
around the right people, doing the right things, also understanding how my wealth, it can be grown, can be preserved, and how I can steward my wealth. That's a very important thing, right? So we'll probably talk a little bit about that. But it's yeah, I've always had a little bit of like, youngest person in the room. I ran a residential painting business for a couple years and I was 18, youngest guy. But it was, I found the top performers and either made bets or just friends with them, and found my success radically transformed, right?
Yeah.
And I also found that, who I became was incredibly beneficial at the process. And so I
That's
have
right.
this thought to share this, right? Because it's always fun to talk about the young guys who, made a bunch of money, super, all this stuff. And then you have the guy or gal who's listening who's like 35 or 52, and they're like, well, cool, that's not me, right? So I'll tell you the story. My parents became real estate investors with me when
Cool.
they were 71 and 73. I might mess up their ages, but the point is that they've always been like, just like education, data analytics, like they'd never invested in anything else besides stocks, right? And there was an opportunity for me to buy, a short-term rental in Canyon Lake, Texas. But I needed, more debt to income ratio. So I'm just getting quickly tactical for people, where together we used our combined debt to income ratio to buy this property. And here's what happened, Brett. One, I have a property, amazing. Two, this is where the miniature golf course is, so heck yes. But also, I've seen my parents smile more in the past 40 years than I have in my entire life. And it's
Yeah.
because it gave them a different outlook on life. It gave them a different perspective. We also did something together as a family. So potentially for, anyone out there who's, in their 70s or 50s or 40s or 30s or 20s, whatever, right? Like there's opportunity to partner with people at different levels as well as
Right.
do things on your own. Again, granted, like have that experience and background. I've been in commercial real estate. I've been around the investing game for, I don't know, 15 some odd years at this point. So not just advocating, hey, go buy a short-term rental and like call it a day, like know your stuff, right? Because you're curious. And by being curious, you might do a partnership, you might do an investment, you might do it yourself, like whatever it might be. But I think that's the big thing is it's not just like who you are today, it's also who you desire to be and what
Right.
does that look like, right? And again, the idea of like your financial heart, right? What's inside. If you had $10 million, like that's just going to magnify. Like, could you be the person who not only makes 10 million but also gives away 10 million?
Yeah.
Those sort of things. So yeah, age regardless, but yeah, that's just been my experience, right? Where
I
it's
think
just always
for me,
been
it's a
who I'm
chip
being.
on my shoulder, right? Almost in some ways of like it's the whole, it's back to that same 8-year-old person. Like who says you can't do it?
Yeah.
So I played baseball my whole life, played through college, and you can't really see me, but you can probably infer that I'm not a big dude. Okay. Like, and I was always the smallest guy in every field I ever played on, especially when I got to college. And these big old giant humans, like 6'5",
Sure.
6'6", just monsters getting up there. And little old 5'9" with cleats. I said I was 5'10". Yeah.
Sure.
And tiny self on the mound pitching to these monsters of like, and they look at you like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And it's always been this thing of like, because nobody told me I can't. Well, they tried to tell me I can't, but like, I'm going to tell them that, yes, I can,
Sure.
but it's the same mentality of like, I don't care if you're, heck, man, I know teenagers with investment properties. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure.
there's nothing saying you can't do it other
Yeah.
than naysayers that just don't think big enough. And they're just telling you
Yeah.
no.
Well, they're also not you, right? And it again, the curiosity would, be it. Hey, I'm really curious if I took a flight recently and I was like, oh, hey, I wonder if I could just use like the, first class bathroom, right? And just like went up and used it. Like no one said anything, no issues, right? It's just I try it. So it's that sort of aspect where it's just, trying things and being curious of like, oh, that didn't work, right? And the reason being is like that's a true like SaaS startup founder mentality, right? Real estate investor too, but the idea of like, oh, let me try this, let me see that, things like that, right? So potentially it's, calling the biggest brokerage you have out there, and it's just like, hey, you've been a top performer for the past 3 years. Like
Yeah.
I would love to know the mindset that, the types of investors that you work with, or I want to work directly with you, or could I buy you a lot, like whatever, right? just the most, again, I did the same thing with wealth managers the other day, right? I've talked to family offices, and I think the big thing too that I used to realize that I wanted to do, that I wanted confirmation on, is that people who have $100 million or maybe like $1 billion plus net worth, right? That they were different. And really they're not, they just have different, right? So they're still putting their pants on, they're still putting socks on, things like that. And so when you're curious, when you're laughing, when you're having fun, hey, I'm going to go grab a water. Would you like one? Could I also grab you a water? Like, we're all humans.
Yeah.
And so, that was a big thing that I realized. And that also radically transformed getting back into like real estate kind of transaction stuff, either as a broker or even just myself, is getting the right deals done and also working with the right people. Sometimes you can't help that if you're a broker, stories aside, especially in commercial real estate. Still, being able to be someone who, can hold that space to be that great individual, right?
Right.
And if, boundaries are crossed and things aren't done, like, hey, like right now, this is just not how I operate. My clients, my this, or even just my investment portfolio, my tenants, whatever it might be, these are my boundaries. These are my intentions. I would like to have specifically a conversation about this. I would not like to do this or that, right? Reframe sort of thing, part of a communication, but also just the intention of it.
Yeah.
Just those things have been, helpful to me beyond being the person. Cause there's been times where it's like, oh, hey, sure. Like, I can do this for you. Yeah. Yeah. I'll give you an extra this or that. Sure. I did. Yeah. Okay. And it's just like, I just made 10 grand. Like,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
And receive
exactly.
that too. So,
And receive it. That's important. Well,
yeah.
I mean, that's that we could deep dive that. You need to know how to
I know. I saw that in both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to know how to receive. That's a struggle when somebody, like a personal thing, somebody says good job on something, and me being able to just be like, that's why am I struggle to say thank you?
Go compliment people. You will be
You know?
able to receive compliments once you give more compliments, as well as when you desensitize yourself to things. Quick exercise. There's this idea of the $100,000 briefcase, right? If you want more money or more properties or more things, right? Amazing. Imagine someone showed up at your door right now and you're like, have to go answer it, right? And someone being like, hey, here's the things that you wanted or you're going after. Like, what do you say? Why are you here? Who are you? Like, well, okay, but where are they located? Like all these fact finding things. Or is it just thank you? The abundance response is thank you. When are you coming back? Right.
Right.
Or how also could I help you? Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Like, how's your day going? Right.
Yep.
So receiving is absolutely, definitely important, than just, taking or doing, but being able to, and when people give you compliments or give you the opportunity to have discounts or properties or things like that. Again, bringing that kind of human element into it and not just the real estate transaction.
Yeah, I think for me it was a walk, like a self-discovery type of thing of like, why did I struggle? Like somebody said you did something good and you simply say thank you. Or no, it's totally fine. Like of course that's like
Just turning it.
You deflect. And it came to realize like it's a self-worth thing. Like that I am worthy enough to accept praise.
Yeah.
And that has to be, and took for as it's still an ongoing. And here's the good news is I recognize it quickly now, and I'll go, it's still weird for me to hear it, but I know the response because it is an abundance mindset response to say thank you.
Yeah.
Not like, oh no, dude, of course, like this is what I'm supposed to do. Like you don't say thank you to me. Of course, this is fine. Say thank you, receive it. But I do want to transition to the Investor's Guide to Joy, because I think everything we're talking about really, and I haven't read it, I don't know. I have to imagine though that is somehow tied into everything we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it is. So background of like how it was created. When I was in software, I doubled my W-2 income in the span of 4 years. I saved 40% of my gross salary. I did house hacks. I had, learned about loans. I right? Grew my real estate portfolio. I septupled, so 7 times my net worth in the span of 18 months, and found that I thought I reached the absolute frickin' mountain. Like there was going to be a party And what I realized is I didn't want anything but more of myself. And so what I
Mhm.
mean by that is that I was chasing this like external thing. And we oftentimes do it, but it's once you do it, then you kind of feel it, right? And so it became like, how can we create the idea of enjoying the walk, right? For the sake of the walk and enjoying more the process than the outcome. And again, same thing. If I'm only focused on the outcome of having, I don't know, call it 20 doors, whatever it might be, but I don't focus on like the cash flow or the life I get to live or things like that, what's going to happen? I'm going to create basically a problem where I'm frustrated to no end. Hopefully, you have a ton of systems at 20 doors. But the point is, if you're always focused on an outcome, then you won't be able to allow things that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to think or plan to happen.
Mhm.
And so it was this idea of like, if we always want to go to this summit, we reach the summit, or for those who reach the summit, we realize it's a false summit. And then we look down at the mountain and we're like, what's that path? Oh, that's the path to
Yeah.
joy. Like, I really want that one. Right. And so it's a difference of, less finance focused, right? More financial heart, more human capital, and more, kind of spiritual capital, if you will. Again, kind of those two belief things that I've found I've been able to have people be like, hey, Paul, like I have this new deal. I'd love you, to come onto it. We'd love to give you like this percent or this ownership in the company. And it's like, I didn't work hard for this. What do you mean? Right. And again, receiving it. Right. So that's really been the premise. That's the story of how it was created. The premise of how I believe people can, take action on it, right, and integrate it into their lives. I talked a little bit about, financial heart and other things like earlier in the episode, to not just buy things for the sake of buying things in terms of investments, right?
Mhm.
Or just also, great, you maybe have a bunch of properties, but like also the idea, and here's a fun one for me. Um, what if you went and bought a car, right? 100% cash, and then you went and bragged about it to everyone, right? And kind of did a
Right.
better than sort of thing, right? Like that idea of like that financial heart, man, it's not really that human healthy, right?
Right.
You're making kind of people feel insecure and not as good about their financial situation, their ability to do it. So it's more of like, how can you show up to help? And I've seen this happen in conferences and stuff where you like talk to people specifically like multifamily and stuff. How many doors you got? And like, there's always this one person who's like, how many doors? How many doors? How many doors? And that's all they're seeking. And it's fascinating when you see an interaction of someone who's seeking those things and want that answer and kind of prove to themselves or really everyone else. And then they talk to the person who has like 3,000 doors and they're like, yeah, I have a couple. Like, it's nice to meet you. What's your name? And they talk and it's just like, dude, that guy has like 10x what you could ever imagine. And like you would never know it because it also, doesn't really matter. So again, kind of that person.
Yeah.
And that's sort of also how I've really added this idea of kind of do-it-yourself wealth management, where I've seen like as we're the type of people who do things ourselves, we tend to not have the right resources and tools around us, right? Exactly like the group, right? You have all the finance resources and the planning, even the mastermind group, things like that, right? Which is part of the reason why I was excited to come on, right? But how are we again like preserving that wealth, growing that wealth, and then stewarding it, and get some of that tax advice or financial advisor advice, and talking to the people who have $50 million,
Right.
and we could just learn from them. Oh, okay, this is how I structure, or this is how I think about this, or this is how I was able to scale my portfolio to 50 million type stuff. And it's like, sweet, like I can then either continue on that same path or potentially change, right? Do I really need more money or do I just need a different perspective type thing?
Right. Yeah. Love that. Yeah. And I think that when I talk to people, I love the idea of it's your guide to joy. I think
Yeah.
that's it's just a really healthy outlook, of like, what are you really pursuing? Is it for selfish gain or what is it for? Another angle I look at is I have a firm belief in everything that we do is I think we humans are all inclined and driving towards where do I find peace? And I
Mm,
think that we're all pursuing, that every decision we make is in a drive towards peace,
yeah.
and like, right. So like, I'm not going to go to the grocery store because, if I'm not like trying to get something that I don't need, right? Like you're going for a thing and like you get it. Okay. I got the thing I need, you
Yeah.
know? And people when they're just buying stuff at random or investing in things in random, and they're just
Yep.
they're all searching for something. And my strong, firm belief is they're still just trying to figure out where peace is, and they don't know where to land at. So our job as entrepreneurs, our job as where the seats that I sit in is to really ideally guide people to, hey, where does that peace lie? And it's really a similar. I don't think they're too dissimilar. Like where's joy? Because joy is not a feeling. Happiness is a feeling.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes. You know your stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been cool to experience and think, and especially from like a real estate investor perspective, like doing. So here's a fascinating, there's a couple different exercises. One is like making your ideal day, right? Understanding what that works from like a family life, personal life, work life, as well as what is your 3-year vision, right? Oftentimes we think of like, oh, I want to have this much or do this thing or things like that, right? Buy these properties, right? Doing those things, and then doing a eulogy, or what's also called a life well lived. What you'll find is that really it's more about how you acted than necessarily how your day went or necessarily the things that you did. And if you want basically at, this service for people to say, hey, like he was an incredible individual, she was an amazing individual, and she was always kind and always there and always had time for me, things like that. Whether you have, 7 or 7D properties isn't going to be, really on that right now. Certainly if that's something important to you, you could put that in there. But oftentimes I find by doing those exercises, we look and really see what we like truly want and need. And there's, by the way, I have these on my website that people can download if they just want to like go through it, right? Because that's a really important thing for me, is not just, again, this like wealth thing, but just how do you change someone's life by 1 degree just by even like our conversation or just doing an exercise or even going to an event or something like that. Like your life could be radically different. You could change generations from just even a mindset shift or a different action or, being around different people, because it just constantly gives you a completely different trajectory. And to your point, the difference between happiness of just like, oh, I'm kind of happy, and it's having joy in all seasons. Hey, I, was not that anyways, I was thinking of like, if you got like a lawsuit or you like lost a property or all this stuff, but it's like having joy in all seasons because it's you and it's not the thing. You're a human being, not a human doing. So oftentimes it's like, I have my identity in, I'm a real estate investor that has this many doors, that does the thing, kind of stuff. And it's like, no, I am a, very successful, capable, man who believes these things, who enjoys these things, who is this, who lives here and does this. Oh, and I also have this type thing.
Right.
Because then
Exactly.
if you strip away what you have, then I've also found you it's easier to allow, right, in terms of adding more, as well as easier to allow in terms of letting go, right? Hey, I just need to sell these properties because it's not letting me live my ideal life. So I'm going to sell $5 million worth of real estate. Oh my gosh, that probably took you 20 years to build. Yes. And I'm more focused on this now, right? So having that kind of perspective and that ability is key, because otherwise you're just going to be, holding on to it, right? And the idea of kind of surrendering to maybe the process, but also like to, again, like yourself and the ideal life and legacy that you want to live, right? Regardless of where that's at for whatever category or net worth or cash flow or things like that, are, I believe, important in addition to some of those things. Because I want to be someone who's capable of doing all these things and was like that, right? Just like we talked about, right? So it's not just, oh, it was a really great person and like, he did this small little thing. It's no, he was great and type thing. It's a yes and. So
yeah, love that. I mean, I know you and I could just keep doing this for probably days on end, right?
Days.
I think but if people, you mentioned your website, that sort of thing, but if people want to reach out and connect you with you further, and following the journey, maybe learn more on the Investor's Guide to Joy, that sort of thing, what's the best way for that all to come to be?
So I'm really focused on the idea of like meet people where they're at. So I have a YouTube, it's Paul Graham. I'm on LinkedIn. Instagram for me is more posting like fitness, faith, and finance type stuff. And then the website is the best way in terms of finding some of these resources. I also break down all different types of alternative investments. So if you're looking in like oil and gas or multifamily or things like that, like I help describe and educate you on them because I believe that's a big thing. But it's just to say, like, wherever you can find me, like, reach out and connect, especially in the age of just AI and social media. Like, I'd love to just hear, hey, like, enjoyed the conversation. Hey, I had a question about this. Hey, do you know someone about this? Because that's really why we're, doing podcasts and connecting with other like humans, not just having you stay in your car and be like, oh, that was a great episode. Then you like go to the next. So yeah, if something certainly resonated, Paul H. Graham is what I'm on LinkedIn. It's Paul Graham is, pretty much the rest of them. So like I said, find me, where you're at, see, how I can help at either grow kind of the, net worth piece, all the way up to, just kind of stewarding and kind of the wealth management sort of, or kind of the DIY wealth management, if you will. I'm not a wealth manager, but again, the idea of, bringing together people who need some of these resources as time goes on, so they can learn and implement. Because I'm a color outside the lines guy. So like, if I had, a wealth manager, they're going to tell me to do this and that. And it's like, yeah, good thing, but like, I'm not going to. So, it's kind of for, real estate investor type people, right? So.
Very good. Guys, it's a no-brainer. Go to It's Paul Graham, all the things, follow his website, and all the notes they'll be in the show notes for you guys too. So reach out to Paul, connect with him, guys. And man, this has been great, man. I appreciate you hanging out with me. This has been really good.
This has been incredible. Great conversation. Appreciate your time, Brett. And thank you for interviewing me and spending time with me. I really appreciate you.
Dude, cool. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.